Hi, I'm Amrit, the founder of Walfinch.
And I'm Bez, founder of Drop Gym.
And we're here today at the Kenzel Rise Drop Gym. This is very cool, our first pilot pod.
Yep. You get to be a client plus be on the podcast.
Yeah. This is very cool. So Bez, we're talking about the basics today, right? So I've often thought, if I was Tom Hanks in Castaway, what would I do? How would I keep building? What would be my 5 hacks to survival? Building muscle mass, keeping hydrated. What would it be?
Yeah, I mean, let's assume you can drink water and it's not seawater.
Yeah.
There's, in terms of physical activity, you make do with what you have. I think a big part of the curve of how we approach fitness is COVID, where we were limited in resources. You're just super limited on a desert island. But you can lunge, you can squat, you can do push-ups, you can run, you can swim. I'd say those 3 or 4 things cover a lot of our basics.
So just to jump in there, so lunging and swimming, squats. So what I'm really focusing on my lower body, on my kind of quads there quite a lot.
You can do push-ups. If you maybe have a tree, you can do pull-ups, hangs. Work on your grip strength, your scapular strength, and just rinse and repeat those.
Very nice.
Should be building up to 100 press-ups if you can, because
in one hit,
there's no other chest movements. Yeah, exactly.
How many press-ups can you do in one hit?
I probably now do like 50, 60, but
lightweight.
very past my prime.
Very cool. So I read this thing by a guy called Peter Attia, who's all about longevity and talking about grip strength and your hang test and the correlation between that and Alzheimer's, and saying if you can hang as a 40-year-old male for longer than 2 minutes, you're in a really good space. But that's really interesting.
Yes, I'd say that's correct. But a lot of it comes from people who have good grip strength actually train, do some sort of physical activity, and there's a correlation. It's not them purely just squeezing something. And improving their hand strength.
The grippers, right?
That's not necessarily what correlates to longevity. But that's correct, alongside how much muscle density you have in your thighs, which is a huge correlation as well between that and how long people live without any health complications or issues. And I mean, Attia in general right now is a huge personality in the longevity game.
That's right. Well, only for now, Attia, we're coming for you, man. So, so I'm on this desert island and I'm looking like Tom Hanks and my beard is growing strong. I'm doing my swimming. I'm doing my squats and lunges and press ups. I've got to 100. What else can I be doing? What's the hydration? What's the food situation?
It's like hydration. Your main issue on an island is probably going to be getting clean water. And if it's coming from a tree rather than you obviously can't drink seawater. It's not quite like drinking electrolytes. And in terms of food, if I was to make a list of superfoods, probably coconuts would be in the top 1 or 2.
Really?
Things. And
coconuts would be in the top 1 or 2
depending
superfoods?
on where in the world you are, you should have access to some sort of coconuts. Just because it has so many, it's so nutrient dense and has a lot of healthy fat, and that it's like a very high in the list of micronutrient dense foods. That's number 1 food source when you're there.
And so just staying on that for a second and just bringing back to London life. So what about coconut water? Is that the carton coconut water?
A lot of the time, coconut water doesn't actually have much coconut in there. Coconut milk is okay depending on the source. Like all foods, it depends on who's producing it and where you're buying it from. Buying a kind of standard supermarket brand compared to a holistic organic brand are 2 very different products. But I'm a believer that coconut milk should be used. I'm also a believer that normal dairy products should be used, like fermented products like cheese or just normal milk, depending on tolerance.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so superfood, I've got my coconuts. What else are we talking?
Superfoods, you're going to have coconuts. You definitely are going to have either eggs or salmon or both in there. Because of, once again, high micronutrients, healthy fats. Salmon will give you most of your omega-3, 6, 9. That will make you function, cognitive health, etc. I'd have a kale or a spinach, something that's, a dark greeny leaf in there for fiber.
For fiber. So how much fiber do I need every day?
I'd say the average adult needs to have about 20 grams to be functional, and then depends, are you having 7,000 calories or are you having 1,700 calories? That should determine the level of protein, carbs, fats. And I wouldn't have avocado in there, which is also...
You wouldn't have avocado in there?
Yeah, I think...
We're going to be trolled for this, so why not? What's going on?
I just think avocado is like a new superfood, but, 20 years ago when I got into fitness didn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, how are we managing?
Yeah.
And without it, also if you're going to get, you know, everything I've stated could be a really long list.
Yeah.
We always try and, you know, at Drop Gym specifically, we always try and be client oriented and understand that they need convenience above anything else.
Yeah.
I have to manipulate someone's carbs, fats, and calories.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give them a high fat food that doesn't have protein when I could give them many other high fat foods, and I've already listed 3 that do include protein. You know.
So that's very interesting. So my wife's often talked to me about, she's been training hard, you know, and talking to me about protein density and everything. And I'm like, hold on a second, I'm the guy that's been training since I was 17. Or I'm now being advised by my wife that's been poo-pooing it for all these years. So we're talking protein density. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to knock out some eggs. And she's like, hold on, there's not the protein density there, and you'd rather have some chicken. So what's the deal with that?
I don't think there's a massive difference in protein density for chicken and eggs, and like I said, the eggs overall have more, you know, micronutrients than chicken itself.
Is that right?
Yep, and cheap, easy to cook. There's like, you have many ways to cook an egg. None of them take more than 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
The chicken requires seasoning, a tray. They're very different.
Yeah.
So I'll always go for that rather than the other thing. And you know, salmon, the air fryer is like a revolution. People now can make all of these protein sources in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And prep is so easy, and you know, it kind of lowers the fat levels in things as well, and it tastes good.
I mean, you know that this podcast is directed at people over 40 when we're talking air fryers, right? You know, it's like there is life before an air fryer and life after an air fryer.
Even myself, you know, in my competitive bodybuilding career, I didn't have an air fryer.
Yeah, I used to have a George Foreman, man. So
now I have like a third or fourth thing that can just kind of rotate all my meats and proteins if I'm prepping food.
Amazing. So okay, so I'm here. I'm hitting the proteins. I'm doing the exercise. What about hydration? So how much water do I need? How am I getting that?
So I think on average, people should be drinking about 2 liters of water for every 50 kilos of body weight.
2 liters per every 50 kilos. Okay.
So if you're 100 kilos. It's 4
why are you
liters.
looking at me? I mean, actually, I've lost 10 kilos because of you guys this year. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so that's not indirecting you. But and then every cup of coffee you have, you should be having another cup of water to counteract that.
So that is on top
coffee
of
and tea are a diuretic, because sometimes you'll say to someone you should drink enough water, and they'll say, but I have loads of tea. It's like, that's the opposite of what I'm asking you to do. So if you actually add that, let's say you had a 100 kilo person and they had 4 cups of coffee, that's a lot of water, and unrealistic that they actually hit that target.
Yeah.
So we always just encourage them to drink more than they currently drink and get them to a point of like tolerance.
Okay.
Some people struggle to get such a high volume, and they start going to the bathroom a lot.
So hypothetically speaking, I mean, I've got a friend of mine. He's 102 kilos
as
of today.
Kilos,
and he messages me on a daily basis and tells me this. So he's 102 kilos as of today and has 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day, right? So how much water in the ideal world should he be drinking?
3 to 4 cups would be about a litre. So he technically, he should have 4 times the amount he's having.
So 5 liters is kind of the mass I'm thinking. So is that right? 4. So 4 liters just for the body weight, and then 1 liter for the coffee. Yeah,
but think about it, that's such a large goal.
Yeah.
The chance of you being deterred from even doing it are high. Yeah. So you should just have. He should just have.
Thank you.
4 more cups.
4 more cups.
Really good for the next month. Yeah. And after that, you can add another 3-4 cups and slowly, compound it like that rather than just in one go. Yeah. Also, as I mentioned, you're going to go toilet quite frequently. I don't think that's a big deal. But some people find this irritating. They'll say, I'm in the office, I'm having to run to the bathroom, I'm having to wake up at night and go toilet, and that's a bit of an issue. And I'm like, listen, if you're just hydrated for the next 20 years and you bought yourself an extra 5-10 years of life, is it worth the exchange of a few extra toilet visits?
I don't know. I mean, my wife would say no because it disturbs her sleep. She's like, listen, I'll deal with you having 5 less years.
And in the meantime, they might not make the exchange, but in 20 years, there's no going back. So,
No, it's interesting actually, because
think about how you're feeling then rather than now.
I drink loads of water, right? And I actually quite like it. I mean, my drinks of choice are essentially water, coffee, and sad to say, some Diet Coke every so often. But but
nothing wrong with Diet Coke.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think the the data on someone actually drinking Diet Coke and sticking to their diet and avoiding sugars, like actual sugar, not sweetener, it is really high. And diabetes kills people way before some sweetener does. And also, if you're very hydrated, the biggest con of sweetener is that your stomach lining gets destroyed if you're dehydrated. But if you are hydrated, there's actually not many issues with it. And as I mentioned, if it's helping you avoid sugar, everyone should have Diet Coke. There's a bit of caffeine in there for energy.
You know. I mean, I find that's right. What reason I drink it, because it's exactly that. It helps me keep on track with the diet.
Exactly.
You know, so
and you know, if you just exchange it for normal Coke, that's an extra 30 grams of sugar a day. And if you did data on 30 grams of sugar for the next 20 years in your day, you know, you're gonna have far more health complications than purely sweetener.
So that's I mean, that is really interesting. But you're right. It is annoying the toileting. You know, but I think actually. It's a very small price.
It becomes less annoying over time as your bladder adapts.
But
short term, definitely, you know, the frequency is quite high.
Well, I read something.
But it is what it is. You know, well, you're working from home 2 days a week now rather than before. You know, you have 3 days where it's a bit inconvenient. You know, you're dressed smart or wherever it might be. But
no, you're right. I mean, I was reading this this article, and it was a scientist talking about how bladder control can change, and you can train your bladder to be more full for longer, and which feels kind of counterintuitive.
Exactly.
You irritate it a bit, don't we, for the next 2 or 3 minutes, and then it just increases its capacity.
As with everything in your body, you know, you just build resistance to it. You become adjusted, and then you know, you don't have that problem. Or you used to go to the toilet twice a day, you end up going 6 times a day.
Okay.
Eventually, we'll meet you in the middle, and you have like a 3-4 trips.
Right, so I'm doing my 100 press-ups, banging out the squats, I'm eating my salmon from my sea, I'm getting my 4 liters and reducing amounts because I'm having my coconuts.
Don't forget.
What's your number 5? What else is there? What's the 5th hack?
As a like a health hack, or specifically a desert island?
So if I've got limited resources, right? So I'm time poor, I'm cash poor, whatever it is, and so when you think about that, and so effectively, you know, life kind of feels like a desert island. You know, what is that 5th hack? What's the most important thing?
Sleep is probably the most important thing after oxygen itself.
Nice.
In a day-to-day, and you know, to put it into perspective, I always tell people that you can't be without oxygen for more than a couple of minutes. You could probably live without water for a week. Before you're in real trouble. You could probably live without food for a month. There's been cases where someone is stuck on a desert island, but there is no one that, you know, without the help of some sort of stimulant or drug cannot sleep for 3 days. It just doesn't exist. And since your body can't adapt in such a short time, then that's the second most important thing. You know, just sleep 5-6 hours. You pretty much you have people who are of a certain age range. If you had them all lined up and you asked them the question of how many hours of sleep they averaged in their first 40 years of their life, you know, I almost promise you the people who slept 4 or 5 hours rather than 6 or 7 are the ones who are dealing with health complications now.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So what's the minimum? You reckon about 5 or 6 hours, or is it what does this 8-hour discussion come from?
I think 6 is a good minimum. As with everything, is dependent on the person and genetics. You know, I've met guys that function with 4 or 5. And I have met people who can't sleep less than 8. Like my partner, if she sleeps less than 8 hours. You know, it seems like she slept 4. I have to deal with the grumpiness.
So everyone's talking about creatine at the moment, and I was reading this whole thing about creatine, saying, "Oh, look, if you load up on the creatine and you are, you know, getting you've done your kind of load phase, and then you start taking more of it, your cognitive function is almost as though you've slept for longer. Is that true?"
Yep, but what you're saying can be true, but the issue of how you're saying it is that then we're encouraging people to sleep less but take creatine. And that was my issue with creatine before the cognitive health features have come out, is that if I got a client to do it, they would take 10 grams of creatine and then go to the gym and assume they can lift 20 more kilos on the bar, in which scenario they could get injured, and then the client can't train at all for 2-3 months. So I'm like, okay, you're not doing 10 grams of creatine, but you know, we have a much bigger problem to face now, because you had some sort of placebo effect from.
No, you're out for 6 months.
Exactly. And I think, you know, I will always have like facts and knowledge on things, but it should always be there should always be a reference of, can my client do this, or can an average day-to-day person actually, use this and utilize it and get good results or sustainable results, rather than me slamming someone with 40 grams of creatine. You also don't really need to load, by the way.
Yeah.
You're fashioning it as someone should be on creatine long term. It's good for you.
Yeah.
So whether you have 20 grams initially and then taper down to 5, or just do 5 from the get-go, shouldn't really matter.
And
shouldn't be like on and off,
Yeah. Is that the number? What is the?
I think 5 grams is a good minimum.
So that's all 2 scoops, 2 little scoops.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm talking little scoops, man.
Depends
my little black scooper.
Yeah, exactly. And then creatine kind of disappeared from fitness for a period.
Yeah.
It's always been around. It just wasn't so massively pushed, and now there is a huge. That is the most studied supplement in the world.
It's mad. When I was growing up, everyone was on it. Everyone was talking about it. And all of a sudden, for like 10 years, it just disappeared from any conversation. Even when you're in the gym, no one's talking about it. Everyone's on whey protein and whatever. And now all of a sudden, I mean, literally, my wife is on it. All of my female friends are on it, and I'm on it for the first time actually. And it's interesting. I mean, I'm not necessarily sure I've felt loads of impact, but yeah, I feel like that kind of lifting for. I'm probably lifting a bit more or a bit longer. My endurance is probably better. But
and that's one of the many variables of your day.
Yeah.
And when you were growing up, it was cheap. It is cheap.
Yeah.
It is compared to other supplements.
Yeah.
You get a kilo for £10.
Yeah.
£20 if it's a more premium brand.
Yeah.
But just a pot of multivitamins could cost you 50 quid for the month. So everyone as a teenager uses it.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, because they have to weigh up what they can afford and what they can actually use. And then obviously in later life, you have multiple supplements, or what you're deficient in. Same scenario. If you're eating creatine and that's a good source of it, does that mean you're going to stop eating some red meat in your week, which is also a source of creatine?
Yeah.
I think vegans are much more in need than the average day-to-day guy or girl, but everyone should use 5 grams. That's a good number. Nothing too aggressive.
No, that's great.
That's the sum up of
I like that. And I like keeping it really simple, because life is busy, and what you want is, here are the 5 things I need to do. Right, 4 liters or 3 liters, whatever it is. 5 grams of that, great. 6 hours of sleep, cool. It's tick, 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 tick. We're all sort of busy, aren't we? And what you want is that this is it. Do this, and you're in a good space, and then you can double down on something else.
Of course. And even in my seminars, that is one of the modules where it's just. You have 5 things you have to ask your client and make sure they're doing correctly, and then everything else is complementary. It's not something that is an absolute must, but it's good if they tag along or tick that box.
And obviously, I'm really interested in that aging space. And if I think about Walfinch and people aging, they find it really hard. If I think about people with Alzheimer's or dementia, they find it really difficult to keep that. Hydration level. And I think was it jelly tots, jelly drops. In fact, they sent us this stuff. What do you reckon? So this is essentially chewables.
I was looking at this a little bit earlier as well. So it's technically the equivalent of electrolytes. You're just chewing them.
Is that right?
Rather than drinking them.
Can you eat these? Oh, gee, I'm just thinking, what do you do? Do you swallow them, or do you just chew them?
You can try it.
Sure, come on, let's give it a back.
We're actually opening it.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. So I've actually never had one of these before, and they look weird.
Could be the camera lady setting us up.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a setup. Well,
how good it tastes.
All right.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's all right.
I mean, then
I'll give these to my daughter. They're like sweets, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
sugar-free.
The only issue I would potentially have with this is, does that mean that people are not drinking water anymore because they've had 4 jelly drops? The ingredients are pretty.
But I mean, how many of these do you have to have in a day? For an older person, say, like
portion
someone
is
in their
52
80s,
grams,
90s.
so you're actually having half the pack.
Half the pack a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which also comes with about 7 grams of sugar.
Yeah, that's interesting. And
which isn't too bad.
Well, I
mean,
it's
a fix.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a prevention.
Yeah, and this is it. I think if you have to, having stuff like that is kind of interesting, but great.
Yeah, I mean, definitely better for your daughter than Haribo's.
Yeah, that's it. It's that placebo effect. So my wife keeps me on track, right? I'm terrible. I have a huge sweet tooth, and she's literally like, "Oh, hold on a second. How much are you paying for the PT? Well, what the hell?" She knows exactly how to get into my head. I'm like, "Oh shit, ROI. This is not cool." So when we're away, there may be a handful of desserts that are ordered, but it is part of the incidentals. But when we're here, it's kind of saying, am I eating the greens? Am I stopping eating earlier than I used to? Am I not having crisps before sleeping? And all of that kind of stuff. But I find it damn hard, right? So if you flip the desert island approach to, we're bang in the middle of London, I'm a busy CEO, I'm rushing around the whole time. I literally could sponsor Gales, right? What do I do? So what are my 5 hacks? How do I make life easier, more nutritious, but healthier?
So, I mean, in general, in London, we don't have very good healthy options in terms of ordering food. But I feel like we have quite good knowledge of what you should eat. And another big issue outside of that is just when people market to us, the directions we should move in, or trends, or what types of food we should have. And a lot of the time, it's just them marketing their product and us believing what we want to believe. And we step away from unprocessed food because of convenience. But if we step into processed food and away from unprocessed food. I think if we just went back to basics and ate things that are grown from the ground, organic. Had quality foods, had things we cook ourselves a lot of the time. You're pretty much taking a big step towards being healthier and feeling healthier, because you might have a craving in the evening. What that means a lot of the time is people have undereaten for a lot of the day, and then by the time they get to the evening, they get a huge sugar drop.
Which is exactly where I'm at. Because you're constantly moving, right? My day's broken up into 30-minute segments from 6 a.m. when I'm here to sort of 7 p.m. once the kids have gone down. And so, sometimes you'll miss a meal and not even remember because you've gone from Zoom call to face to whatever.
If you just paid more attention to it in that first kind of 2/3, 3/4 of the day, you're probably far less likely to have big cravings in the evening. And like I said, your blood sugar doesn't drop. It's like if you know anyone who actually has diabetes, when they are hypoglycemic, they will want to eat the whole fridge, which is like a thing from the fridge. You're kind of allowing that to happen, just obviously on a smaller level.
So what could I do? I'm eating early. That's great. Okay.
Healthy fats, slow digesting carbs, protein. Once in the morning, once at lunch. Bridge the gaps between your meals. The intervals should be 3, 4, 5 hours max, rather than between meals. Breakfast being a girl's coffee, and then having nothing till afternoon, having a small snack, and then nothing till the evening. If you're a 100 kilo man, your maintenance calories will be pretty high. You're basically not giving it anything till that point. You're starving and not just hungry. The chances of you eating a normal portion of food that is like green, white rice, and protein is 0. Because even if you do eat that, you're going to eat something else, or you want something that's more visually and physically satisfying.
So that is really, really interesting. So what does that mean when you're talking about fats and so on? I mean, what, in practical terms, what's going on in my mouth?
So let's say in the morning, it has to be convenient. So eggs is a big maybe in terms of if you're bothered to actually wake up or boil the night before, or however you like eating your eggs. But a lot of people now, you can easily have some protein with some peanut butter or whatever it is as a fat source. Oats, easy to cook. Everyone has sachets. You can boil it. You can microwave it. However you choose. And then your snacks could be a piece of fruit, a handful of nuts again, beef jerky, whatever is easy, and you can pack it and actually just carry with you. And you've already had 2 regular food intakes, and you slowly build on that. Remember, don't throw the kitchen sink at it. If I told you to eat 4 times between wake up and dinner, you're not going to do that. You're going to tell me you are. You're probably going to go off.
No, this is great, because actually I remember the first time we met at the West Hampstead gym. Our office used to be there actually when I started Walfinch. Keep tapping at that, get a bit of merch plug there as well. So, that was really interesting. When we first met, what I really loved about your approach was you weren't over-egging it. You were really practical, saying, look, you're busy, so just do this and do a little bit more. And at a time. So that's okay. So breakfast, cool. High protein, but and not sort of saturated fats. And then what do I do for lunch?
So lunch, like I said, is if you're not having lunch already, it'll probably be a snack, because I'm meeting you in the middle. But if you can actually have a lunch, it should always be a complex carb and some sort of healthy protein or lean protein and greens.
And so what does that look like? What's a
let's say
complex
potato,
carbohydrate?
sweet potato, rice, quinoa, and then your protein would be fish, chicken, red meat even. And then the vegetable can be whatever your preference is. Usually with vegetables, I say the greener the better.
Yeah.
In terms of vitamins and minerals. But if I told you to eat spinach and you don't like spinach, then we'll live with cucumber.
Yeah.
Is
that right?
Suiting you. Yeah, that's just has to be something you're actually going to do and repeat and you enjoy to a degree and you do it for longer. And like you're mentioning, when I met you, I say we want a sustainable approach and we need to drop X amount on a weekly, monthly basis.
Yeah.
This way you're going to get, you're not going to feel terrible. You're not going to have a dysfunctional family or work life, but you're still going to be moving in the right direction. Yeah. No health issues, etc. Because we're in to a degree, but we've just come out of like 2 decades of people trying to lose 20 kilos in 2-3 months and then going on holiday and coming back 15 kilos up. But that's bad for mental and physical health to do that kind of drop or yo-yo, as we call it. We need to sort of step away from this and get people to, have a sustainable approach and be able to do what we're telling them for 3 years, not for 3 months.
Yeah. No, I think that absolutely always happens when that yo-yo approach, which has essentially been, historically the Atkins diet and all of that. We sort of hit it hard. You lose loads of weight and then off you go. And I remember when I was trying to lean up when I was 20, it was literally I was eating boiled chicken. That was it, just boiled chicken 3 times a day, and that nothing else. And great. I was lean as heck. I've literally never been that lean
healthy.
Again. But I think back to myself. I'm like, I'm fortunate I was 20 because I probably would have dropped dead if I did that now.
Exactly. And depending on genetics, right? You could eat loads of chicken. I could eat loads of fish, and or we both eat loads of chicken. But my digestion when I do that is terrible. Your digestion is okay.
Yeah.
It should be tailored to the person to a degree.
That's very interesting.
A lot of the time, it's just effort.
Yeah.
Losing body fat is staying hungry at the right times of day, not being starving, because like I said, you indulge, but just being relatively hungry for a certain amount of hours, and building muscle is eating when you don't feel like eating so much.
So I've got
discipline.
a few bits around that. So one is, we haven't talked about protein intake. Like there's all these statistics about how much protein someone should be having per kilo of body weight and all that kind of stuff. But then
you get a study that says you should have 2 grams for every pound of body weight.
Yeah.
But let's say you're 100 kilos. That means you're aiming for 450 grams of protein. Who eats that?
No.
Even when I was a heavyweight bodybuilder, I would have just about consumed that amount of protein over 8 meals. It's too high. It's unrealistic. I think you should always see it as the minimum amount of protein. A woman should have about 90 grams maybe, and a guy should have about 110, 120. If you can do that repeatedly for a month, 2 months, then we can increase it. But you're in a routine of actually splitting your protein between 3-4 meals. You're quite comfortable with it. Your grocery list is the same. Your cooking method is the same. Now we can ramp it up rather than me meet you and say, tomorrow you're having a whole chicken for lunch. Next week, or the next day, you're going to have a whole 3 steaks for dinner and you're going to hit your protein goals. And what if you do have 3 steaks for dinner, but you have stomach cramps?
This is
digestion fails and we have other complications to deal with.
I mean, there's all this like mad stuff out there. Like, I'll have a steak for breakfast and all this kind of thing. I'm like, I kind of see the logic, but who's doing that? Right?
And steak is healthy. But who is waking up and
having a steak for breakfast?
And then there's like I said, you have to go and buy good steak and wake up and cook it. And there's washing up, and it's like inconvenient. You always have the most convenient approach, and that makes people more likely to actually, follow through.
And that's great. So the thing I try to do is 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight.
Yeah.
Is that?
It's about 150 for your body weight. That's good. That's good as a minimum.
Yeah. Okay.
And you build on that once you.
Because I actually find it hard to consume that much as well. Quite frankly, I'm like, first of all, my eating window is smaller. The quantity, the portions are what they are, and I'm like, God, like that is literally just so much meat in a day.
And what's useful about you not having a very high target is that when you do decide to cut the carbs or fats a little bit lower, it allows you to add something which isn't an energy source. You can only do so much damage if you just eat protein and veg. In terms of your body weight changes, but mentally, you're not going to feel good.
Yeah.
Hormone balance is not going to be great. So you might have windows of that. Like women will get really... The prime example of someone losing weight because of discipline rather than the right or wrong approach is, women will plan a wedding and they'll have 4 months till they're married and they'll do absolutely everything you say. It doesn't matter what the approach actually is too much, and they'll lose weight and they'll be in their wedding dress. And then beyond that point, there's always a reason that they can't lose weight or what's going wrong. And it's like the only difference between then and now is you listened, and now you're not really listening.
And do you think with men and women, we've got the sort of difference in hormones and so on in terms of how you're losing weight and how you're maintaining that? Is it testosterone related and all that kind of thing?
Testosterone helps in terms of building muscle and maintaining muscle, which in turn helps with losing body fat or keeping body fat low. That's a kind of advantage we have over them. But outside of that, there should be not a huge difference in approach. There's like small things, like women deal with volume a little bit better in terms of volume of training, but they also have higher estrogen, so there's a chance if they're hungry or dieting quite hard, there's going to be more of a sort of emotional issue, or their moods are going to be up and down. So
that's
pros and cons. It doesn't. I mean.
So what do you mean by volume of training?
So like a woman can train her legs 3 times a week and recover.
Yeah.
And a guy of the same weight, same level of experience, might not be able to do 3 days and actually recover by the 3rd day, for example.
Nice. Yeah. I mean,
not in all cases. I mean, like I said, everyone has different genetics. Not just genders, but cultures, countries, parts of the world. There's a variance in terms of what you should do and can do. We don't know that much about it. It's probably something I would study if I had time. Drop gym is a 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
That's
timetable.
That's pretty full time.
Exactly.
So, and the last thing I wanted to talk about was fasting. We're talking about it everywhere, and I just think it's really interesting. There's probably a whole separate pod on this, but just headlines on things that you're talking about in terms of. All of these hacks, does that have a space in there? Now, I don't want to go too deep into this because I do think this is a whole topic for us to discuss, but is there space for that? And does that help when we're talking about these sugar crashes? I found, because I've been doing it for the last 6 months, I found it's helped me with the sugar crashes in the evening.
Yeah, so I think fasting is good as a reset, but really people should do about 6 to 8 weeks. And that's great for regulating your blood sugar a little bit, regulating your hormone count, actually resetting your metabolism. Like the Middle Eastern countries, they all fast for a month a year.
Yeah.
The cancer rates in those countries are super low. But beyond this sort of 6 to 8 week program, that means that you're only going to be in protein synthesis for like 7 or 8 hours of the day rather than for 16, meaning your muscle can only repair and grow so much for maintenance or to actually improve in density. So it's just not optimal. It's not necessarily right or wrong.
Very cool.
I just wouldn't choose to do that with someone.
Yeah.
If I meet them and they're in a fasted state, I would just tell them they need to broaden the window in which they're eating protein, and then beyond that, broaden it again, step by step. Nice.
So, to close this episode, what is the one thing that the listeners can do as a main hack between now and the next episode? Longevity hack, life hack. What is it?
I think there's ways to track your quality of sleep now, and like I said, that's the second most important thing after oxygen. So people should get their minimum of 6 hours, and then actually check that. This didn't exist 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but now you have a way to check that your quality of sleep is actually good.
Yeah.
And if it's not good, they should fix that. And from that one thing alone, they probably feel very different.
Yeah.
In terms of their personal work life, their physical capabilities and endurance. So it's just such an easy thing to recommend someone.
Yeah, nice, great. Thank you very much, man.
No problem, man.
Great. Oh, that's a nice clap. Until next time.
See you guys.
How are you two? Who's surviving on the desert island longer?
I mean, look, I'm going to say that I'm going to survive, bro. I'm a survivor.
So I think 2-3 years ago when I was actually training and eating 8 meals a day, I'm pretty screwed on a desert island. Because I'm used to having so much food so frequently. It was that by day 3, I was completely like on my deathbed.
The last 4 days, I've eaten nothing. Nothing. Right? Yesterday, I almost vomited because I didn't get it. Right? I was doing a sales meeting. I was there. I was like, I hope I make it through this. Right? You know? I've had nothing until that sandwich I had then. So I'm surviving, man.
And then after that, it's a question of like who's actually climbing the tree to get the coconut.
I think we're going to have to be a teamwork. I'll come up with the strategy, you do the climbing.
Yes, there's a non-definitive answer, right?
We'll have to just do this as a... We'll do a pod on a desert island.
The next one will be like, we've been thinking about the desert islands.